Right now, somewhere nearby, an animal is watching you, and it may already have an opinion about you. For most of human history, we've pictured ourselves as the ones doing the observing. We study animals, we track them, tag them, film them from a respectful distance through a long lens. But that relationship has never run in only one direction. Animals have been studying us back the entire time, quietly building their own picture of what we are, and some of what they've concluded is genuinely unsettling. Start with the most basic question. When a wild animal sees a human, what does it actually think it's looking at? In 2021, researchers running a study in South Africa answered this more clearly than expected. They set up hidden speakers at watering holes and played recordings to the wildlife that came through. Lion roars, gunshots, and simply the sound of ordinary human voices, people just talking. Across species, animals fled from the human voices faster and in far greater numbers than they fled from the actual lions. In a landscape where lions are the real apex predator, animal after animal reacted as though we were the more dangerous thing in the room. Researchers now call this the super predator effect, and it isn't limited to that one study. Across ecosystems on multiple continents, when animals hear a human voice, they treat it as close to the single most alarming sound in their environment, more alarming than the sound of something that could actually kill them in a fair fight. Whatever animals think a human is, harmless is rarely the conclusion. This fear doesn't just make animals run in the moment, it reshapes their entire daily schedule. A major study that looked at animal activity patterns across 6 continents found that wherever humans are present, mammals shift dramatically toward being active at night. Even species that are naturally active during the day, even in places where humans aren't hunting them at all. Simply being seen by us, on foot, driving, hiking, is enough to push entire populations of animals to reorganize their lives around avoiding the hours we're awake. But it goes deeper than a general fear response. Some animals don't just react to humans as a category, they remember specific ones. Crows are the clearest example of this. A researcher at the University of Washington once wore a particular rubber mask while briefly trapping and handling wild crows as part of a study, then never wore it again. Years later, crows in that same area still scolded and mobbed anyone who showed up wearing that exact mask, including crows that hadn't even hatched yet when the original trapping happened. Somehow, the information about which face meant danger got passed down through the group. The crows hadn't just formed a memory, they'd taught it to others. The same research group has tracked this behavior continuously for well over a decade since, in the same wild population. Sheep do something similar in a more controlled setting. In a Cambridge study, researchers trained sheep to recognize specific human faces on screen, including celebrities the sheep had never met in person, rewarding correct choices with food. The sheep didn't just memorize one photo. They could still pick out the right face from a new angle, in a photo they'd never seen before. An animal generally assumed to be one of the least sharp in a farmyard was quietly running facial recognition. Elephants take individual recognition even further. In Kenya, researchers played recordings of human voices to wild elephant herds, men, women, and children, all speaking calmly, with no threatening words involved at all. The elephants reacted with noticeably more fear, specifically to the voices of adult men from a community with a history of hunting elephants, compared to voices from a community that largely didn't. Voices of women and children triggered far less alarm across the board. The elephants weren't just recognizing human, they were parsing gender, age, and something close to which group a voice belonged to, and adjusting how afraid to be accordingly. Horses run a version of this too, but aimed at something more specific, our faces. In a study from the University of Sussex, horses were shown photographs of a person making either an angry expression or a happy one. Later, when that same person approached them in real life with a completely neutral expression, the horses who'd seen the angry photo showed clear signs of wariness. They weren't reacting to a threat happening in front of them. They were reacting to a memory of an expression applied to a face they now recognized. Not every animal has filed us away under threat, though. One species seems to have built something closer to an actual relationship. Dogs are the strangest case because the fear response seems to have been rewired into something else entirely. When a dog and its owner hold eye contact, both of their brains release oxytocin, the same hormone responsible for bonding between a parent and an infant. It's a feedback loop. The longer the eye contact lasts, the more oxytocin rises in both of them. Wolves, even hand-raised ones, don't do this with humans. Only dogs do. Dogs also do something wolves never do. When faced with an unsolvable problem, a dog will stop and look back at a nearby human's face, almost checking in, while a wolf just keeps trying to solve it alone. One leading theory is that domestication wasn't something humans did to wolves so much as something that happened between us. Wolves that could tolerate closeness to people got fed, stuck around, bred with each other, and over many generations became a new kind of animal capable of this bond in the first place. It's a compelling theory, but it's still a theory. Nobody was there with a notebook 20,000 years ago. Dogs also seem to track something closer to a person's honesty. In a study out of Kyoto, researchers had a person point toward food that wasn't actually there, misleading the dog on purpose. The next time that same person pointed toward food, the dog ignored them, even though pointing is normally one of the clearest signals a dog will follow. But the dog didn't lose trust in people generally. It would still follow a different, unfamiliar person's pointing without hesitation. The distrust was aimed at one specific individual, based on one specific incident, and the dog held on to it. Even outside of pets, animals living in ongoing contact with humans seem to build individual profiles of the specific people around them. Cows and pigs on farms show measurably lower stress hormones when handled by a familiar caretaker than by a stranger performing the exact same task in the exact same way. Whatever is happening in their heads, it isn't just human present, stay alert. It's closer to this particular human, I already know what to expect. How much of this counts as animals genuinely understanding our intentions versus simply learning strong associations through repetition is still debated among researchers. Some argue that remembering a face and reacting to it isn't the same as understanding why a person did something. Others point out that the line between association and understanding gets blurry once an animal can generalize a single bad experience into lasting distrust of one specific individual, while still trusting everyone else. Nobody has fully settled it, and it's probably going to stay an open question for a while. But put all of these findings together, and a strange picture starts to form. To a surprising number of animals, we're not just another creature passing through their environment. We're something they've actively assessed, categorized, and in more cases than you'd expect, individually remembered, sorted into safe or dangerous based on evidence they personally gathered about us, sometimes down to the specific face. We spend a lot of energy wondering what's going on inside animals' heads. Whether they're happy, whether they're suffering, whether there's anything resembling a person in there at all. It's a one-way question in our minds, us studying them. But every piece of research here points the same direction. The observation has always gone both ways. The crow outside your window may already know your face. The dog at the end of the street may have quietly decided, based on one interaction, whether you're someone worth trusting. It might be worth remembering that at least some of the time, the answer to what's going on in that animal's head includes a very specific opinion of you. If you want more of these deep dives into how the world actually sees us, subscribe. There's a lot more of this we haven't gotten to yet.